This is my speedrunning game with infinite levels. Usually when people speedrun games, they play the levels over and over trying to get the best time to beat the game as quickly as possible. But what if there were an infinite amount of levels to master? That's why I made this 2D speedrunning game, but with an infinite amount of randomly generated levels. Most of the time when people talk about randomly generated games, they think each run will be completely different. But in this game, level 0 will always be level 0. That's because I'm going to use a seed system, similar to how in Minecraft you can type in the same seed and always get the same world. The first thing I did for this game was actually start by working on the main menu. I was playing around with a particle system and I ended up creating this hypnotizing type of effect with circles going out, and I immediately loved how it looked. Then I came up with the title of the game, Void Runner, because you're going to be running through a world of infinite voids. Next up, we needed a player. Now, I had no idea what I wanted the player for this game to be, I just knew I wanted it to be something with space and voids. So what you're seeing right now is actually my first attempt at creating the player. I just started drawing and I hoped something would come to my mind. I ended up creating this guy. It's a space adventure that'll be going through the different voids. I played around with giving him legs and arms, but nothing ended up to look right. Once I was done drawing it though, it kinda started to look a little sus. Anyways, I imported it into Unity and I got to work on its movement. Now, I think movement is one of the most important parts of any speedrunning game. The whole point of a speedrunning game is to go fast, so that's what I wanted to implement into my game. I started with basic left and right movement, and then I added double jumping and the ability to hold down to push yourself to the ground to start another jump. That was feeling a little plain though, so next I added a dash to be able to launch yourself and get momentum. Then I wanted some more feedback for the movement, so I created this particle system that plays when you jump or dash. Also, since I knew you'd be moving fast in the game, I created a custom camera system to try and lead where you're going and give yourself a head start to let you see more of the map. And I think it looks really good. Then I created this blue ring to go around the player, and this is just a visual indicator to show when your dash is ready, and it recharges every 2 seconds or whenever you're on the ground. Next, we needed to start working on the levels. First, I set up this particle system for the background to add some more life to it, but then we needed to generate the actual map. So we needed a way to spawn the platforms without overlapping. Basically, the way this works is by spawning one block to the right at a random size and distance from the last one. So this was my first attempt at that. The blocks had a random size, but I made it so they accidentally went up one after another. Then after some tweaking, we got it to look like this, where they were all placed to the right one after another. Then I went to test it out with some other level numbers for the seed, and it was actually really cool to see it work. Basically, at this point we had an infinite amount of levels, but there was one big problem. They all mostly felt the same. Now there was some variation in the heights and size of the blocks, but for the most part you would just hold right and reach the end. So to fix that, I created this bounce pad. I started by making the pink particles and the mechanics for it, and the way this will work in game is by having a random 1 in 5 chance to spawn on a block. Then if it does, the next block will be spawned above, moving the whole map up. This way you won't just be able to hold right, and you'll need to pay attention to where the bounce pads are. Also, with the way I made the movement, if you time your dash just right, you can use the bounce pad to launch you forwards, and I feel like this will be used for some fast times in the real game. After that, I wanted to work on the UI a little bit to make this game feel a little bit more put together. So I made this UI text that shows what level you're on in your current time, and this will come together later. But for now, the next thing I did was try to work on the platforms. Since I liked the look of the white, I tried to create this white tile to go on them, but that ended up looking horrible. So I asked my dad what he thought, and he said I should do some sort of gradient because it's in the void. So I ended up with this platform, and I think it looks amazing. Then I made a small change to make this pink indicator to show if you have your dash, and then I made the blue indicator show if you have your double jump. This was a small change, but I feel like it helps you visualize your abilities. Next, we needed to tie the whole game together by adding a finish. I created this black hole looking sprite, and I think it'll be a good finish line because it looks like you're getting pulled into the next void. Then in Unity, I was playing around with a particle system, and I created this orbiting effect, and I think it looks amazing. So now when you run into it, the game will end, and after that I created this screen that pops up with a little animation, then shows what level you just finished and what your final time was for it. I also ended up learning how to keep track of your best time for each level after you play it. The only issue with this is as it resets after you close the game, but I think it'll lead to some fun competition against yourself and your friends trying to get a better time. Then we needed a way to die and to restart the game, so I created this red void area that goes underneath the map, and if you fall into it, you'll be teleported back to the start. I also made it so you can press R to quickly restart if you mess up a jump. Then I noticed the transition felt a little harsh, so I created this transition animation of a circle going in and out just to ease some of that tension. Now at this point the game was pretty much finished, but I wanted to add a little more variety to the levels, so I created this random color for each background. I think this will help to make it so they don't all feel the same. And then I just ended up creating a quick tutorial that goes on level -1, and it shows you the basics of how to play. Finally, we needed sound, so I created this quick song using beatbox, and I'm actually really happy with how it turned out. And then I got these jump sound effects using this 8-bit sound effect maker, and now we're done. I left the link of the game in the description, so my challenge for you is to go and play the game and see what times you can get. Go and comment some of your favorite levels and your best times from them in the comments. Also, send this game to your friends to see who can get the best time out of all of you. I actually loved making this game. I spent so much time just playing the levels and having fun with it. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, go check out how I made a fighting game but you can't fight back.